I'm curious, the future, future state from zooming out from your lens, looking 4 years and
Yeah.
8 years ahead. What does that look like for you?
Yeah. Again, I put my math hat on, Skylar, and it's funny, if you think about all of the opponents to Bitcoin prior to the ETFs, all the major, wirehouses out there and major investment banks out there that were, just, poo-pooing Bitcoin and saying this is not good. And then all of a sudden, ETF comes out and everybody's like, oh, yes. And now we've got an entire team that follows the research
Right.
and we project out, and you start seeing some of these numbers of some of these big investment banks that have said beforehand that they didn't like Bitcoin, but now they've got research analysts that are saying, oh, by the end of the year, it's at 100,000 or beyond. And, I smile at that because all they're really doing is what every one of us is doing. We know that Bitcoin is one, a cycle, and two, it's math. So when you think about the prior halvings and where we've been with Bitcoin, and as you get into that next bull market, to Tim's point, supply and demand. Supply got cut in half, newly minted, the supply cut in half. Demand didn't change. Actually, we would argue demand's gone up now. What happens when we're at the gas pumps? When Saudi Arabia decides to cut 2 million barrels of oil? Well, gosh, I'm paying more than $4 a gallon. How does this happen? Supply and demand. So when you look at the past halvings, for instance, the last halving that we had 4 years ago, Bitcoin went up by 7.7 times. All we're really doing is projecting out and saying, again, put my bond hat on and say, well, let's just say it goes up half of that. We don't have to average that all the time. Even if we go up 50% from where that is, where does that put us at Bitcoin within the next 6 to 12 months? That number's somewhere around 120, 125,000. I've heard most of the consensus around there. I would tend to agree with that. Again, I'm Debbie Downer. Maybe I go a little bit lower than that. But I had folks, I talked to a fairly well-known Bitcoin mathematician that believes in the law of power, the power laws, that is trying to convince me by the year 2050 that no doubt about it, Bitcoin will be at 1 million a coin. And I'm like, my goodness, my head just spins thinking about that. And there's been other investment houses, well known, that we all know the names, that have said, oh, absolutely, in the next 2 years, a million or bust. Again, if you just take the average conservative approach based on the law of economy, there's really no reason why this asset shouldn't be at over 100,000 in a short period of time. My humble opinion, in the next 6 to 9 months or so, we should be in that 125, somewhere in that range, and then we continue to build from there.